Okay, let's talk about compliance for social media lead ads as well as the direct messages and comments that happen on social channels. Now, a common misconception is that if someone has contacted you via social media, you have the right to contact them in any way you want on social media, and you can call them if you want. That's definitely not true. Consent does not transfer. You do need to be TCPA compliant with how you contact people if you're using pre recorded voice, AI, or any kind of text or call that's using synthetic technology for consumers and businesses, regardless of where the lead was generated. Social media, on your website, buying it from a third party affiliate, doesn't matter, right? Furthermore, Facebook, Instagram, these WhatsApp, these social media channels have their own terms of use that you have to follow on top of TCPA compliance. So we're going to break it all down and make it easy. On Facebook and Instagram, let's start there. Direct messages to recipients who have direct messaged your business page. This is really common if you're running ads. Someone will write to your page privately. Basically, the terms of use, these are not TCPA laws, but they're terms of use, state that only one DM at a time can be sent to the recipient who DM'd your business page. Meaning that if they write to you and they say, hey, how much does this cost? You only have one message you can send to them. You can't send them 10. It needs to be something like, it costs this much, here's what I need from you, and here's the instructions on how you can give that to me. Because honestly, that's the last time you can write to them unless they write back. Now, if a direct message reply is being sent to that person, you only have 24 hours as the messaging window to write to that person. If you miss that message and you don't get it for like a week, you can't use their API to send that message programmatically. There's a 24-hour window before the API expires. And only when that recipient replies further do you get to renew the 24-hour messaging window and have a chance to send one more message. In other words, you can't do follow-up contact on social media channels. It's not allowed. You get one reply and then you're basically done unless they reply back to you again. And then you have another 24 hours to send only one more message. So be concise and be fast with your replies. Obviously, Pitchit takes care of a lot of this stuff with immediate replies, and we're always going to show the 24-hour clock to show you how long ago that person wrote. In the event that you do take over communication manually, we always try to make it so you're compliant with the API, and so we have user interface features that make it easy for you to know how you're doing with your messaging window and whether or not you can send another message. Now, another one, direct messages to people who commented publicly or mentioned you in a post. You do have the right to DM them in terms of like the following their terms of use. It's the same laws where basically only one direct message at a time can be sent to that recipient who commented or mentioned you publicly in a post. And the only difference here is that you do have 7 days to send that DM. And I'm not really sure why they've chosen to do that, but I assume it's because they think it's not as easy to see all of the comments and posts about your company, whereas it's a lot easier to see a direct message hitting your inbox. So they give you 7 days, but they do have the same requirements that you can only do one message, and you can't reply a whole bunch, and that after that recipient responds, you now get decreased to the 24-hour rule. So it does eventually follow that 24-hour rule once you're in an active conversation with them, replying back and forth. Next one, so someone publicly comments and you want to publicly comment back to them. Okay, so they publicly commented on your ad and you're trying to publicly write to them because they have engaged with your business page. Now, it's the same rules, only one comment at a time can be sent. You can't just do a whole bunch of follow-up comments to them. The initial comment reply that you send has 7 days, very similar to the one here. And then after they respond further, this is where the 24-hour window kicks in. So these are all 3 different ways that you can either direct message or publicly comment. They have time window limits. They have total number of sends that you can send them. And you definitely can't do follow-up messaging like, hey, did you see my message? I didn't hear back from you, right? You basically only get one message and then you're done. Now let's move on to WhatsApp. So any business-initiated messaging, meaning that you're starting the conversation with the recipient. Let's say that they were TCPA compliant and they wanted you to write to them. They've given you consent. WhatsApp has a couple of layers of pre-approval. So that they avoid spam on their platform. They have to pre-approve all copy. This is actually really similar to like the 10DLC programmable messaging registration for ATP campaigns. And so I'm going to get into like what's in common with that. They also require that you send them all of the previous message templates that you want to use in any future comms. They'll review that use case and that copy, and they'll approve or disapprove it. They also ask for contact info, business information, a website URL. And so it's similar to 10DLC. It's just a lot faster and a little bit less paperwork. But they do give you a template SID that's pre-approved. And anytime you communicate to initiate a conversation, you have to use that template SID and the exact copy. You can't divert from that template, or you got to go through pre-approval again. Furthermore, this is obvious, but you can't engage in fraud or spam. If you are engaging in those things, you're probably not watching this video because you don't care about compliance. But I want to point something really important out here. So this includes repeated unwanted contact with WhatsApp users. So if enough users mark you as spam, even if it's not spam, they will consider it repeated unwanted contact, and they will count it as spam and fraud, even if it's not. So you have to follow these tips to avoid this, especially if you're engaging in high volume messaging on WhatsApp. Maintain explicit opt-in mechanisms, right? So make it really clear to someone when they're opting in for contact. That will prevent you from getting people who are kind of half interested in receiving contact and then marking you as spam later. Have really clear disclosures. Record and retain all consent in the event that you do get shut down. You can prove to WhatsApp that you were doing your best to be compliant. Make clear the ways that these recipients can opt out. So say something like, hey, if I'm annoying you, you can opt out by saying stop or clicking this link. That will prevent people from marking you as spam. They'll just click the link and then you're not in trouble. Last part, log all opt-out requests promptly and ensure that they are immediately suppressed. These are all things that can help you not get marked as spam by WhatsApp, even if you're being compliant with their policies. And then the final bit, which I think is a really important one to end on, lead ads, which are equivalent in every way from the TCPA's point of view to a form fill. So even though the lead was captured on social media site, it's not a loophole. You still need to follow TCPA form fill regulations to be compliant when calling or texting this person with robo-dialing tech, AI tech, pre-recorded voice, voicemail drops, etc. So read the section that we covered earlier on website form fill compliance. There's a chapter on that in our course. I'm going to quickly summarize it. So you need explicit opt-in mechanisms. A good example is like an unchecked box being checked. That's an opt-in mechanism. Facebook supports some of this. Make sure that you have explicit opt-in being captured from someone so that it's not just automatic. On Facebook, they allow users to like one-click opt into things. I'm not sure that really is a good idea anymore. Make sure that you don't let Facebook do that and that you instead tell Facebook that you want the lead ads to require some manual mechanism to submit the form. So like actually ask them for additional information so that it can't just be like a one-click auto, because that's not really going to fly for prior written express consent. Next one, opt-out mechanisms need to be clear. So every form of comm that you make with them in the future, as well as the initial form fill where they're opting in, you need to make it clear how they can opt out. In our form fill, we include that language here that they can revoke consent at any time by saying, typing, stop, or clicking unsubscribe links. Make sure that's in your form fill on Facebook somewhere. Record and retain that consent. So archive the exact language and store the timestamp proof of that express written consent. Don't just keep it on Facebook, because if you lose that page, you lose the records, and now TCPA can come after you, right? So store it somewhere else like a data lake. Our system can certainly help you with some of those things as like a timestamp of when you basically got the lead added to our platform, but we're not going to retain the exact language. Only you have access to that information. So store it somewhere and then have clear disclosures. So identify the business that the consumer is consenting to contact, specify how you're contacting them and the purpose. Here's a good example. So you're providing signature expressly consenting to be contacted by Pitchit at the number provided regarding products, marketing informational purposes, or customer service via live, aka humans manually calling, pre-recorded call, aka robodialing, SMS, WhatsApp, or email. This is a great example of following clear disclosures of identifying who's calling them, what they're calling them for, and what channel they're using to contact them on. You do all those things and you can take a Facebook or Instagram lead ad or even on TikTok lead ad, and you can now use AI to call and text them and pull it off that channel because it's TCPA compliant. Without further ado, that is compliance for social media lead ads, DMs, and comments. Thanks.